What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, and give you my impressions on it and whether it's something you should go back to the shop for. I'm going to be talking about Amazing Spider-Man number 21. So Amazing Spider-Man 21 is a tie-in to the Clone Conspiracy, and it's really the main book that's going to be going on in this, but it's not. So the Amazing Spider-Man title is still the penultimate, it is the ultimate Amazing Spider-Man title. It's definitely the one that's supposed to be the most about Peter Parker, but as Dan Slott kind of insinuated, the Clone Conspiracy is really where Peter's story is going to be told, and the Amazing Spider-Man is going to be kind of relegated to tie-in status. So the big question is, do you need to pick this one up? What we're going to do is we're going to start off and we see Kaine, and we recount the story of kind of like a little bit of the piecemeal of the other, as well as the Spider-Verse saga, where essentially he transforms into a giant spider thingy and gets smoked by the Inheritors. And so last we saw Kaine, he was dead, wrapped up in a web, but that turned into be some sort of cocoon. So he emerges from the cocoon, talks with Karn, who kind of enlists him in this multiversal mission to really help and support this ongoing thing, which it turns out is the Clone Conspiracy, aka Dead No More. Because Karn, the master of the web, has determined that there's these different things that are happening all over the multiverse, and he can sense them and those kind of things. So he sends Kaine out on reconnaissance missions. And while we do have some heavy-handed hints that go on in the actual storyline itself, Kaine still has no real connection to where those things are going, but he finally determines that ultimately it might be connected to Parker Industries. So you have to ask yourself, if he's on Loom World where this whole thing is taking place, why does he not run into the Web Warriors? I mean, they're there and they're going around the multiverse trying to take on these various tasks. The answer's pretty simple. He is, but he's a really sneaky guy. So he's just kind of like hiding out, taking supplies whenever he really needs it, doing his research, hopping around the multiverse, until there's a very curious Gwen that finds him sulking in the shadows. And that's where he kind of gets his first ally in this. They both go to another multiversal plane kind of thing where Peter Parker and Parker Industries is determined to be the center of this whole interaction. And we see that he is cooperating willfully with Miles Warren inside Parker Industries. So you have to wonder how that actually happened, and where we're going to find out about that in the actual Clone Conspiracy book, because that's a pretty serious insinuation. That's pretty serious business that goes on there. As we see this happening, we determine that these Carrions, these zombies, these are actually byproducts of the New You process, where essentially people have had organs replaced, or they're clones in general, and they're degrading to the point where they become unstable and become these Carrion creatures, which is what devastates the entire planet eventually. As these things happen, Kaine snags the research and runs into the OG Kaine himself, like with the full-on black and tattered cape, and it just threw me back so hard. It was such a fun little, I was like, oh, OG Kaine! It was so fun. But, he gets into a little bit of a battle with him, but it wasn't really anything too terribly crazy, because Kaine, he basically degrades and dies of natural carrion causes, I guess. So that's really weird. He performs an autopsy, gets a little bit more information, and then understands a little bit more how this actually works. So first off, Kaine is not contagious, but ultimately they still have to determine what is going to happen with this whole New You technology. And the big unfortunate part of this is that Kaine's homeworld, the Earth 616 that we know and love, is about to be a subject of this kind of thing, which is where it ties into the main Clone Conspiracy arc. We notice that they want to do some sort of infiltration plot, so obviously if they've got a Gwen and they've got a Gwen, so we're just going to swap Gwens and we're going to be perfectly fine in this case. But as a result of the autopsy, Kaine finds some rather startling news, and ultimately he knows the time of his own demise, and he realizes it soon. So he needs to kind of power through this and create a situation where he can foster success for the people of his own universe. So this is where we get to the rub of this particular story, because the art isn't really a concern. It's very competent art, and ultimately it's the same artist that's been doing Amazing Spider-Man since the beginning. So Giuseppe Camuncoli, if that's how you say his name right, he does a very good job with it. It's not necessarily my favorite art for Spider-Man, but it's definitely one that does the job. However, when it comes to the story, this is not an Amazing Spider-Man story. It is a Kaine story, which is okay because he's appeared in a number of different Amazing Spider-Man books, but you can definitely get the sense that this is specifically a tie-in, and you have to ask yourself some very serious questions about the way that this story is portrayed. It's like, as far as the Clone Conspiracy is concerned, do you need to know about them being Carrions? Do you need to know about Kaine hopping around the multiverse? Do you need to know about Kaine hiding out from the Web Warriors? This is a continuity kind of construct. This is meant so that way Kaine can appear inside the Clone Conspiracy and inside this whole event without causing any serious concerns for people that are continuity buffs, that are wondering, like, wait a minute, why the hell is he there, and how did he get there, and wasn't he dead, and those kind of things, without making him a, New You style clone, which would kind of be unfortunate in that respect. So is this a kick-ass Kaine book? Absolutely. The Scarlet Spider has his day right there. This is the best Amazing Spider-Man story about a character not Amazing Spider-Man in a long time, and the Scarlet Spider takes the cake. But what it comes down to is this something that's really necessary for the clone conspiracy itself. And I'm of the party that it's not really that important. We already know that New You and Peter Parker, Parker Industries is going to be the crux. They're going to be the focal point of this entire thing. So it's not really news that Parker Industries is where everything starts. The other thing is that that there's something sinister behind New You, because every time that Spider-Man is around some sort of New You clone or somebody that's infused with New You organs, he gets a spider sense tingling going on. So that it has something to do with that cloning technology or the manufacturing of new organs. So this is already stuff that we really know. We've already seen them swap the Gwens inside the other main title, so I don't need that setup. And then Kaine coming back, it's like, oh, cool, it's Kaine! And I could have totally done with just a simple explanation inside the main story, inside Clone Conspiracy, as to what he's doing there. So while I'm really grateful for a great Scarlet Spider story, I don't necessarily see it as being necessary to the actual Clone Conspiracy itself. While it does tie up the continuity, it's not necessarily something I would consider mandatory reading. But it's definitely fun. So that's really where you've got to make your own decisions. If you want something that's a really fun Scarlet Spider story, and it's really strong in that respect, definitely grab this one. If you really just want to make your way through the main Clone Conspiracy saga and not necessarily have to worry about it, you could skip it if you really wanted to. So that's my review of Amazing Spider-Man 21, but I want to know what you guys thought too, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe right there to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything having to do with comics.